So I'm going to tell you a story. I'll be honest, I get a little choked up each time I tell it. It's 100% true. It's a little terrifying, mostly for myself and my family, but it is what it is. And that's kind of how I ended up here. So January 3rd of this year, 5:31 p.m., I'm at my desk, and I close my eyes for a second. I have no more memory until 4 hours later. Wake my eyes open again. There's a doctor looking over me saying, "John, do you know where you are? I'm your medical provider." I don't know what I said. I close my eyes later. It is January 14th. No memory of what had happened. What ultimately transpired was the doctor told me I either had a heart attack. I should mention I was only 38 at the time, now 39. I either had a heart attack, a stroke, a seizure, or a combination of them, one possibly leading to the other. Don't worry, my kids watched the entire thing go down, so, live that trauma every day. My wife, bless her heart, she was smart enough to turn me over so I didn't suffocate. And my daughter got our next door neighbor who's captain of the fire department. My wife called the paramedics who happened to be our neighbor's ex-wife, so I was trying to bring them back together one way or another. Did not pan out the way I'd hoped for. Yes, you can laugh at this because it gets funnier as we go. So I'm coming into rehab for this. No memory of what had transpired. Still not really sure what's gone. I actually go back to neurology next week to hopefully get a diagnosis. And my wife says, all right, you have to make some life changes because you eat like shit. You sleep an average of 4.5 hours a night. You don't exercise. And you're lazy. Man, yeah, roughly all that's accurate. So all right, what are you going to live for going forward? What is going to be the thing that changes your life? And I sat there and I said, for perfect safety reasons, so she didn't punch me in the face, obviously for you and for the kids. Those are the primary things I'm going to live for. The next part is I plan on outliving you, so I can't keep doing this. In sickness and in health, till death do us part, I'm going to last. That's my belief. 'Cause she's a health nut, so I got to prove to her that my questionable lifestyle will outlast her. And then she said, well, what else are you going to do? And I had to sit there and think about, what is it that I'm going to spend the rest of my life doing? What is the message that I'm trying to spread or try and relay to, if not the whole world, as much of the world as possible? And I had to sit there and think about it, it's not about money, it's about happiness. We all know that's not necessarily true. Enjoy the time while you have it. So I sat down and I finally said, you know what, babe? Please don't hit me for this because you're going to. I'm going to live to help dispel the theory that you can operate a holistic search strategy on just SEO and not paid search. At least a few people laughed. She did not laugh at that. I got punched for that one. But all that is true except for that last part. That just happened to work out well because I get asked this question a lot. So now let's hop into the actual presentation why I'm here. This is the concept of, or the infamous theory of 1 + 1 = 3, SEM plus SEO, holistic search theory of incrementality. I cannot legally call it theory of incrementality because I got a cease and desist over that because apparently that has something to do with biophysics. So live and learn. So I'm going to lay this out for you in the agenda. Part of it's going to be the part where, honestly, you can go scroll through TikTok, just don't do it audibly, do Snapchat, and the stuff that's in the blue. When I get to the stuff that's in, there'll be a little break in there, and then when you get to the stuff in red, that's when you can really start paying attention. Part of that is just me doing a lot of stand-up comedy. So who am I? Who do I work for? Who is dumb enough to let me out here to come do these presentations? And I can tell you I had absolutely no oversight, and most of them don't know I'm here. Around this part is when you're going to start paying attention. This is when people say, you know what, John, my organic rankings are doing great. I've got some solid SEO. I don't need to do paid search simultaneously. I'm going to crush it otherwise. And that's full of a lot of funny pictures, so you'll pay attention then. And then this is the stuff where you start to really pay attention and focus and all right, this is actual insight. This is where I go back to my CMO and stand up and say, no, you're wrong. So I'll go over the theory. I'll show some real world evidence so you don't think I'm a complete whack job, although you guys have probably already made that decision since I got up here. Understand how to do it on your own. And then I'll make a snarky comment at the end, tell you all how you're empowered and you can do this on your own and you're better off after having attended this. End it with another snarky comment and then we'll all go home. I should note, I originally wrote this presentation thinking I was the very last presentation. Please don't leave at the end of this. So who am I? This is the fluff part. Like I said, you want to go play on social media, now's the time to do it. Oh, I should note, Instagram and Twitter, you can follow me on that. If you do, please tag me. I got to justify an expense report here. So quick background on me. I've been doing this for 17 years, which means I've been doing it for about 16 years too long. I have no other discernible skill sets in life other than online marketing. It's one of the downsides of this. I've been agency side all but 1 year. I did work for Forbes on the publisher side for a year. I started out with some of the smallest agencies doing SMB business. Some of you all probably gone through that world. Then I did work with some of the biggest agencies in the world under WPP, Publicis, kind of made the rounds there. Other fun stuff where I can make myself sound really cool and that I forgot that I wrote here. We were anybody here agency side? We know that, Russ. Okay, all right. So I promise you, being the very first Google Premier partner agency in the world was a big deal in 2016. Given how almost none of you all are agency side, no one here really cares, but I assure you it's a big deal to some people, mainly just me and my really nerdy inner circle. I specialize in highly regulated industries. So healthcare, which is pharmaceuticals, health insurance, medical insurance, senior living, hospital networks, also anything that is regulated by the SEC, FDA, SEC, FTC, and FCC. I've received cease and desist from all of them, so I learned to read government paperwork. I love it. I don't know why, but it's really good bedtime reading. Some other stuff, I was the very first recipient of the Google's Search Excellence Award for Innovation and Strategy. If you look it up, that award no longer exists. They gave it out for about 2 years and said, he's got a big enough ego. I've been a finalist for the Bing Agency Awards for Optimizer of the Year a couple times, now called Microsoft Advertising, but I refuse to call them that because I don't handle change well. Been finalist for some other awards. Once again, you can go, ooh, ah, you look like you know what you're talking. I am one of the snarkiest people on Twitter within our industry, which has gotten me to be named 3 times now one of the most influential people in search marketing, solely because I'm sarcastic as, am I allowed to swear here? Yeah. Fuck, yeah, I'm sarcastic as fuck. Each year I do drop in the rankings. My team points it out regularly, which is why I should dwindle down the members of my team because of that, because they like to point out my losses, and I don't handle that well. Why am I here? Besides that initial interlude, I am so desperate for human contact. I know a lot of us are, but I've been working from home for 9 years, so I don't need a hug from each and every one of you, but just a little eye contact. Just tell me we're here, we're in it together. And then some other stuff. Fun facts. Prior to this, I was a firefighter, so I should say that's my only other discernible skill set in life. I know it's a natural segue to go from firefighting into this. I will say firefighting was much less stressful and much more physically safer of a job than ever going into digital marketing. And I believe all of you are saying my job is the worst. I can attest that, yeah, it is pretty much the worst. But it's a life path we've all mistakenly chosen, and we're not getting out of it. Thank you for laughing. I am a huge New York Jets fan, so if anyone here knows what that means, the answer is yes. I don't like happiness. This is not their year. Super Bowl 2039. I'm realistic. If they can just stay out of prison and such. I am a devout Real Housewives fan, hence the earlier one. Atlanta is my favorite franchise, although I am getting big into Salt Lake City. Let's be honest, none of us expected Jen Shaw to be the first one likely going to prison. And that one, if anyone did like Dallas, you can get the hell out of here because I just don't want to speak to you. If you don't watch it, you're probably a better person for that. And for legal tax reasons, I don't have a flock of chickens. I have a small flock of chickens. Because if you have a flock of chickens in the state of Connecticut, you have to pay different taxes. So I have a small flock. I love them to death. I have Petunia, Ivy, and some other ones that have attitudes. I highly recommend you follow us on both TikTok and Instagram. It is delightful and heartwarming when you need a moment. Except for Ivy, she's an asshole. Excuse that. So let's dig into this a little bit. Oh yeah, that's Daisy. That is not a look of adornment. She had just bit me in the eye. But my daughter, I wasn't allowed to delete it because my daughter took the photo. So who is 9Rooftops? This is the second part in blue where you can still kind of zone out a little bit. 9Rooftops is an agency that came together in June of 2020. Really bad time to call us 9Rooftops because we were a merger of 3 different agencies. Mark USA, which is where I was at. BLR Further, which is Birmingham and Atlanta? or one of those, and BFG Communications. We all came together to form 9Rooftops because we said, hey, we have 9 offices, and then COVID hit, and we're like, all right, we have 225 offices, but we're not going to redo the logo. We are a full-service integrated agency and production agency. So that means we don't just do paid search, paid social, all that. We do the full digital and traditional media. Mark USA, which was the agency I was with, we were the oldest and largest full-service independent agency in the country at 74 years when we did our merger, specializing in offline media. I was brought in when they acquired my original agency to help run the digital side, and we all collaborate together. So we do everything, but we also do video production, photography. We do end-to-end scenarios for you. Cognition Media is the digital media wing of 9Rooftops because he said, you know what, let's set ourselves apart and make it more confusing and give ourselves a name that no one can properly spell. And also happens to oddly sound like another agency we wouldn't find out until later. So Cognition Media is the digital marketing wing of 9Rooftops, which I fall under. If you ever email me, I have like 6 emails, and one of them is Cognition, one's 9Rooftops, and one of them is, I don't know, I got a lot of them. So yeah. So some of our clients, some of them you all may know, some of you may not. We do everything under the sun. I will note about 30 to 35% of our business is healthcare related. Only reason for that is we like reading government paperwork and we're good at it, but we do with a lot of different brands. Belltones, the hearing aids, most folks here probably don't know, but you'll see it in most strip malls. There's a local hearing aid place. Nuskie's Bacon, anyone here a big swine or pork fan that's seen the bacon? Yeah, I can hear your blood pressure going up now. Really, really good. Qdoba, I know we got a number of locations down here, direct competitor to Chipotle. Okay, I heard one person, that's yeah, thank you for pandering to me. Thank you. Golden Crust, we have 18 locations down here. Anyone from Atlanta enjoy Jamaican food? Thank you. So that's actually one of our newer clients. We do a lot of QSR. We handle their retail and their restaurant business. Oddly enough, this helped catapult me to getting my Jamaican citizenship, which by fingers crossed, I will have by October of this year. Gelmar, which you all probably know as CLR, the 5 a.m. infomercials for cleaning supplies, and the rest you can just look and say, yeah, I've probably seen these brands, or I just don't care. What's the next slide? Looking at a few people, and I'm getting that latter indication. So this is the part where I put down the phone, start kind of getting tuned back in. People come up and ask me, John, can I effectively run a holistic search marketing strategy, or really any digital marketing strategy with just my organic listings? I don't need the paid search anymore, whether it's either on my brand, my non-brand, or both. And it really kind of ends like this. No. And what you're thinking is, yes, that is a giant chicken costume. How else are you going to get your pet chickens to imprint on you unless you look like one of them? And also, how are you going to embarrass your daughter when she becomes a wise ass in middle school, and so you decide to show up at school like that? You know, it got her quiet for a bit. So the answer is no. The answer is just flat out no. I get asked this probably about 4 times a year, so over 17 years, that is a number that I can't add quickly in my head, but it's several. In my career, only once has that ever proven out yes, and it only typically works in larger marketplace brands. There's been a couple studies out there of the brands that can successfully get away with doing that. Unless your name is Amazon or eBay, which I don't believe anyone in this room works for, you're pretty much, it's not going to work. You have to go with both, theoretically. So when I get asked this, at first, I swear, I curse, I name call. I really do not act mature whatsoever because, well, if you've spoken to me for more than a half hour, you realize I lack a lot of adult skills like being mature. So then I explain the theory of the search incrementality theory of 1 + 1 = 3, because remember, it's not the theory of incrementality. And what transpires is, I'll explain it, 90% of them say, you know what, John? All right, we're good. Let's keep going with this. You explain your logic, I get it. Lost something there. Oh well. About 5% will say, John, I'm going to call your bluff. We're going to try this out. And if it makes your life a living nightmare, which it will, so be it, but we'll learn. And then 5% usually don't talk to me ever again. It's something that's come up on my annual reviews from HR numerous times. Aggressive. So who here has kids? Who here's kids go trick-or-treating? Who here inspects their children's candy for poison? All right, most of y'all are lying. So I'm going to try and explain this theory in the best way I can, because when I wrote this presentation, my kids had a whole bunch of candy for some stupid reason. And I was like, all right, we're going to use this as a great incrementality because it's 4 o'clock in the morning and I need sugar. Once again, poor life decisions. So when I think about it, I just want a chocolatey sweet treat, something delicious. I'm not going to question it unless it's an Almond Joy, because Almond Joys are disgusting. And so I look at it, and I lay my kids' candy out like this. I'm like, all right, let's look at a Kit Kat, a Junior Mint, a Reese, a Snicker, and a Milky Way. Now we're going to conceptually look at this as just organic listings. So if this was Google, this was Bing, sorry, John, I will refuse to call Microsoft. If it's Google or Bing, this will just be your organic listings in front. There's no real priority to them. They might be ranked a little bit higher, but they're all visible to me. So then I said, you know what, let's see what the other candy's like. So what I'll do is I put them off. I add a couple more to the bottom, a couple more to the top. I'll put some on the right-hand side. The ones at the very top, the ones at the very bottom are now considered paid search ads. The ones off to the right-hand side are, we're going to call your shopping ads, PLAs, product listing ads, whatever you want to call them this day and age, your local service ads, depending on what it is. So when you look at this, what kind of candy or what brand do you think I'm more likely going to get? Once again, Almond Joy is disgusting. Bingo, bingo. And it's not that I have a propensity to that, is that when I start seeing both in a if I see a brand, especially in non-brand search queries, show up both in organic highly, but also in the paid side, it instills a higher level of confidence and helps me guide my decision making. This is where everyone here thinks they're in control of their lives. We all know that's a flat out lie, that we're highly suggestible individuals. Just look at your Amazon shopping cart. So what happens here is when you start seeing the more listings from both a paid and organic side, you start having a higher sense of confidence in a brand, and it helps to guide your opinion more and where you're going. So when you start seeing like this, yes, I'm going to be geared more towards Reese's, only because I have both the paid and the organic together. Prior to that, when I only had the organic, it was kind of hit or miss. That I'm really fat and make poor life decisions and like peanut butter too. But that's irrelevant to this part of the discussion. So now's the part, this is the beginning of the red part. So everybody's going to be paying attention, phones down, wake up, all that jazz. 1 + 1 = 3. So the first thing I did was when I started going back and researching this theory, I said, who are the greatest minds in search marketing? And I believe we can all agree it's Khalees. Yes, yes. Not hearing enough laughter from that. That was hilarious. It's going to get better, I promise you. And I started thinking, like, why is it Khalees? And then I stopped and remembered, everybody here knows the song Milkshake? Yep. Good. Anyone that said no is just lying. So I looked at that song and I'm like, you know what? She's sending a message. She's sending a message explaining her superiority logic in search engine marketing for both SEO and paid together to bring us a message, and we just have to interpret it correctly. And I believe I interpreted this correctly. So this is why I name her one of the most ingenious individuals in our industry. This is my HR rep. After I had sent them the deck after the first time of the presentation, I had to add this one in later. She was not pleased, but oops. So let's go back to Khalees. I'm sorry, Her High Majesty's Search Lord Khalees. So let's analyze the quotes of this. My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard. And they're like, it's better than yours. Damn right, it's better than yours. I can teach you, but I have to charge. Now, we're going to take a quick poll here. Does everybody think that she is talking about search marketing? If say so, raise your right hand. Or is she talking about her derriere? Raise your left hand. Quick poll. I already forgot which one I told for which arm, so we're just going to go with my logic and theory. So let's do the analysis of this, because this is multiple messages built into one not a haiku, but quote, if you will. My milkshake brings all the boys here. This is often confused with a reference of her physical features to attract the suitors of the different gender to come in. And you know what? No, not the case with her. This is her actually explaining the methodology for a holistic search approach and how it does in fact drive incremental volume despite no additional lift in impressions. I think we can all agree that's accurate, right? There we go. Got that photo? Good. And they're like, it's better than yours. No, this is not an indication than her that her physical features far exceed that of her peers. No. This is actually a description of her consumers in search confidence levels on brand when both SEO and SEM are visibly present at the same time. Damn right, it's better than yours. This is just her being boastful and gloating, that reminding her peers that she is in fact a better search marketer than her cohorts. Once again, we all recognize that. And then lastly, I can teach you, but I have to charge. This is not her trying to set up a fitness video for video on demand to teach you how to get a bit larger dairy area. This is actually her saying, no, I have to go spend money on both labor and paid media to be able to run a paid search strategy in addition to the holistic one, or the SEO together, to have that holistic strategy. Because you know what? Life isn't free. And neither are results. That's just so she's pointing this out. And it just happened to really rhyme well in a song with a good rhythm. So this is how she laid it out. And I believe we are all in alignment with that here. So yes, Khalees was right. SEO by itself provides a visitor of 1, using these numbers illustratively, of course. SEM by itself provides a visitor of 1. And if you only have SEM and not SEO, that means you've made some very poor life decisions on your website. That's a whole other process and discussion we'll have. But together we do see an opportunity. Having both organic present at the same time on the search engine results page, SERP, provides greater visibility for the brand, creating that opportunity of a higher CTR. So when we met, who's here running paid search, either not directly, but at least with their company? Good enough number, okay. Remember, when we look at impressions and we look at CTR, we often think it's on paid search. The reality is we need to be looking at CTR from a holistic standpoint. Yes, I know it's nearly impossible to get a good impression-based analysis when you come organic, unless you're using Google Search Console. But even then, it's not the greatest. But you need to start considering SEO or a CTR from a holistic standpoint, and not just on the paid search side. It's a highly recommended test to do it on your own, but be sure to preset measurement expectations. I've been doing this for 17 years. I do not recommend turning off paid search if you have it going, no matter how good your SEO is. I am a proponent for testing and learning, so yes, this is kind of a talking out of my ass on both sides kind of scenario. Test it out. Don't make it a long-term strategy, because unless your name is eBay or Amazon, it's not going to pan out well for you, but you'll get some good insights and learnings. And as I've said multiple times, and probably insulted at least 2 people in here, there's very few brands that are going to be able to successfully pull this off. All right, so we're going to keep proceeding. Make sure you're paying attention now. I couldn't think of a good reason to have a meme here, but I really like Creed, so we're just going to take a moment and enjoy this. This also should get your attention. There we go. So the 1 + 1 = 3 search incrementality theory. Very, very important disclaimer so I don't get sued. I did not create this theory. I did not do the initial research of the strategy. As long as I've been doing this, which is a little over 17 years, this theory has been around. The very first round of documentation I've actually been able to find came from Melissa Mackey. She's the CEO of another agency called MMI. She ironically had it written in a print edition of an online marketing magazine called DM News back in 2009. I know the theories existed prior to that, but I could not find documentation. Sue me. However, the most formal study, and probably the best study I've ever done or seen, came from 2 NYU PhDs, Shah Yang and Ananya Ghosh. I wasn't able to get hold of Shah. I did hunt down Ananya to a point where he told me to stop contacting him. It's getting really annoying. But he finally gave me the original documentation for it and helped me read it. It is 68 pages long. If you took Pythagorean theorem in college, you'll be able to breeze through it. I failed that class twice and kind of gave up. But if you have 15 hours of free time to read, it's an interesting study. I did put the links at the bottom of it. You will be able to, when this presentation is sent out, you all can actually see the original documentation for that got them their PhDs. I always have to give credit to both of them so that someone doesn't sue me later. So 1 + 1 = 3. I gave you kind of a baseline earlier on this one. So we're going to rehash it a few times because I forgot to take this slide out when I originally made the presentation and refused to update things. So I live with my faults. Assume an organic listing operates without paid search, delivers 100 visitors to your site. Assume 0 organic listings. Once again, that means you've made some terrible, terrible life decisions on website design for search, and its SEM stands in for it. You get 100 visitors to your website. Now, theoretically, when you have both organic present with SEM, the 2 efforts combined would generate just 100 visitors. However, what we have seen is that I did not put the slides in the proper order, so we're just going to go with this. What we have seen is it drives incrementality. So you are not doing anything to increase your search demand. You're not doing anything to increase the demand for your keywords, paid or organic. What you're doing is giving yourself a shot for more traffic coming in. So this is where the theory of 1 + 1 = 3 comes in. Yes, technically it's probably more closer to 1 + 1 = 1.01, but that does not sound sexy now, does it? Exactly. At least she's laughing at me. I'm not feeling it over here, though. There we go. So let's provide some real evidence to this theory. Once again, I've noted numerous times that I disagree with stopping paid search if you already have it and relying just on your organic. I have 3 examples for you. 2 of them I was forced to do. I bitched and moaned the entire time. Once again, HR had a conversation with me about what I'm allowed to say to a client and not allowed to say to a client. And one of them was by pure accident. So we're going to dig into this. So I also tried to think of funny names for these. Not really good at naming stuff, so we called this the case of the missing bacon. This is, I can't name the brand, but you could probably figure it out pretty easily. A smoked meat company that was traditionally wholesale and sold in restaurants, sometimes grocery stores. During the pandemic, they moved to a D2C model because when you can't get groceries and you're desperate for bacon, you're willing to wait 3 to 9 days for delivery of bacon and pay a nasty premium on it. I believe we've all been at that point in my life. So this was the most recent one we did. This was done solely by accident. The scenario, I already told you who it is. Yum bacon. Like I said, I don't rehearse these clearly. Now, what was happening was they were one of the few of our clients that still pay by credit card. Their credit card was stolen because the accountant who had the credit card name in went and made some very questionable purchases, and the company immediately shut down the credit card. What no one knew was that credit card was actually funding our Google Ads account at the time. Surprise to us. So we notified the client. We had been down we got shut down on Saturday. No one noticed till Monday. We notified the client. He notified their now new accountant. And it took, so you all know you can just read off a credit card number to someone and they can put it into the computer. This is an old school brand. And they're like, nope, we're going to wait till we have that credit card in hand. So this ended up being a 1-week test. Because they insisted on waiting for American Express to ship us the credit card. If you want to see what anxiety levels are like, yeah. So we were down for about a week on this one. So until this point, Google Organic and Google Search combined, each one made up about 23% of site visits, combining for 46%. When I designed this, I was really expecting a bigger projector, and once again, I don't update stuff, but if you look very, very closely, you can see that it adds up for the visitors about 23% of pop. Transactions combined are about 36% of total website transactions. They do a massive email campaign and a lot of direct to site, but paid search and organic search combined make about 36% of sales. So when it was turned off, the combined effort fell on the shoulders of organic. And honestly, they have a decent SEO setup. The website's hideous as can be, which is why I'm not mentioning their brand because they'll yell at me when I get back. But they actually have a pretty strong SEO presence. So the Google Organic, if it's all going to fall on you, that means you need to move from about 23% to about 42 to 46% of site visitors to make up for that, to show that organic can stand on its own 2 legs. What we saw was instead of getting up to 46% would be the ideal number, 42 I can survive with. It only got up to about 36% of visits. On top of it, our transactions, which were originally on the holistic side combined at 36% of total traffic or total transactions, only got to 29%. The reason I call this out is because we had no peak season during this time, no specialty sales whatsoever. So it was very much an apples to apples comparison. I'll wait for everyone to take photos. Make sure you get me in as well, looking good. Thank you. So I don't want to say that organic couldn't stand on 2 legs, but this was a perfect opportunity for me to prove my point multiple times. We then, upon getting the credit card and having a really painful conversation of, yes, you can trust us with your credit card, please, just for the love of God, give us the numbers. We went and relaunched it and we looked at it. And what, not terribly surprising, the contribution levels went back to nearly identical what they were in terms of total volume and percentage of total share of sales, revenue, and visitors to the site. So this is case number 1 where, yeah, John was right. I don't get those very often at home, so I try and take anyone I can get. Here's exactly what I just told you, but in a pretty graph because someone told me they like graphs. You're not going to learn anything special from that. So let's go to the second one. This is clearly when I forgot to think of a fun, cute idea for a headline, so we're just going to call it automotive accessories. This is a company of about 250 locations across the Midwest, North Atlantic region. They sell tires, brakes, brake pads, etc. This was a test that was forced upon me. Once again, I threw a hissy fit the whole time. And they wanted to do they didn't want to pay for brand keywords. They have a really strong organic listings. They're like, we don't need to pay for brand anymore. So screw you, John. We're going to do this for a 2-week test. Now, the fun part about this is we had to do this test 3 times in a 1-year span. The first time, one thing we discovered was stimulus checks that were received during 2021, 2020. Apparently, when someone gets a stimulus check, they buy tires. Totally skewed our data. So we had to nix it the first time. Or we finished the test, nix it. Second time we ran it was during tax refund season. We did not learn our lessons from that. In fact, we had year-over-year data and forgot to pull that analysis in. What do people do with their tax refunds? Apparently they buy tires. Once again, not something I was really accustomed to, but it was life learned. Third time, and I nearly lost my shit, excuse my French, over this one. They had a partnership with the NHL that no one told us about. This is a client we are the AOR for. When you are the agency of record for a client and they go off and cut a marketing deal worth several millions of dollars and don't tell you, you throw a hissy fit. So we delayed the third test by 3 weeks to be able to get it, and then we ran this test. And this is the data from the third time. We did it for a 2-week run. Google entities, the Google EX technically is organic. It's just their GMB system. Makes up about 70% of visits and 73% of quotes, quote being their primary KPI. During the test, and remember we only paused the brand side, the number of visits and quotes contributed as a percentage of total were relatively the same as pre-test. The volume of sessions during that, however, did decline, being visits, by about 11% or 11 points. Total quotes dropped by 14 points. And when we did the analysis, that's almost exactly what branded SEM was contributing to it. Post 2-week evaluation, I turned around and said, no, I was right. They told me to shut up. Things happened. What we did see is when we went back live, our visits returned to that normal level. Our quotes went back up, but not to the same level as previous, but enough so that I could still sit there and laugh at them and say I was right. That being said, they yelled at me and then made me turn brand back on, but only for new visitors just to piss me off. But it was an educational experience. We all learned a little something, and I learned when to shut up on that one. But this was evidence number 2 of, hey, it doesn't just work the way you want it to work. So let's go to the third one. This is back when I did think of a good, fun, catchy name for our headline of this. The cleaner that couldn't clean up. Yeah, I know it's kind of like a Thomas the Train kind of quote. This is a CPG brand. It is not an e-com brand. The only engagement on their site is to find a locator tool that finds where they sell the store or sell the product from stores, and sold, I think, 20,000 different retailers around the country, probably about 10 countries as well. So we got a call from them, and I've questioned this revenue model multiple times to them. They did an annual ROI analysis. It came back with all media of all their media channels, whether it's TV, CTV, display, print, what have you. Paid search produced the lowest ROI. And not just the lowest ROI, but not a profitable ROI. So when you turn around and tell me that YouTube, which I love to death, paid YouTube ads produce 9x higher ROI than your brand keywords, I'm going to call BS on that and say our ROI analysis was probably not done right. I was then told that the client was going to paying us to do it, and if I badmouthed our own team again in front of the client, I would be fired. So that's why I'm here doing a road show and not about it, and not doing it in front of my client or my team. That way I still have a job when I come back, unless this is live streamed, which I just realized it is. So anyways, at the time of the analysis, Google paid search and organic combined roughly about 70% of our total visits to the site, organic making up about 50%, 20% going to paid search. Specifically Google branded paid search, of those 20 points, 12 points came from the brand side of our total traffic. Keep that in the back of your mind. Then the client said, you know what? We're going to cancel out paid search. We're going to cancel out brand. We don't need it. We don't think it's actually contributing. We have good SEO, which they don't. We don't need it. So I gave them this look. I actually pulled this meme up in a presentation. You can see how many times I've spoken to HR at this point in my career. And I'm like, no, it's not a good idea. So then they said, we're going to do it, John. You can see my response. And non-brand would remain fully funded. I was like, all right, we found a happy medium and ground like that. Honestly, though, we are only funded at 13% of where we should be on non-brand. Can I have more money for non-brand? And they told me to shut up. And I've accepted that in my life. So by this logic, though, Google Organic, if it was to compensate for the loss of branded SEM, would increase to 24%, which means it would be going from a 50% contribution to a 62% contribution full traffic. The theory did not pan out well. It sounds better when you don't read it directly off the screen, but that's how I wrote this presentation, apparently. By any logic, the organic data should have increased, if not a little bit, but by a lot. No, it didn't. Organic actually declined by total traffic contribution. We scratched our heads a lot on this one. First, we thought a pixel dropped off the site for tracking. We thought maybe they had been running online, offline media. Nope. That part is still bewilders us outright. There was actually a drop in total traffic outright. Google SEM without the ADA brand dropped from 20 points to 8 points. We knew that was going to happen. And the logic of operating without brand and SEM together, or brand SEM and organic together, compensating for it, was deemed as an overall net loss, not a loss that we have still not been able to compensate for. I should also note that they refused to go back even after we presented this evidence to refund or let us fund it again. And things are continuing down this road path, and that is why I'm still doing this roadshow, complaining about it until they finally do, or I get fired. So, evidence in all three scenarios, a single source of search traffic is not holistic. It will suffer, especially if you're high brand traffic or high volume on the brand traffic and you go without brand. It's probably the worst of the scenarios. The other issue that you run is if you have competitors out there and they don't see you present, they will bid on you for cheap, and ruin your day. It's a competitive or conquesting scenario that where we've had several of our other brands bid on our name when we're not present there, and the amount of revenue loss we've calculated out is considerable and concerning, but I'm not allowed to tell that or say that out loud in a public place until now. So how do you understand and measure to test this on your own? There's two different ways to do it. They are nearly identical except for step 3, so pay closely attention to step 3. There's the easy way or the simplistic approach, and then there's the more detailed way, which I call the hard approach. And it really comes down to your resources internally on which one you want to do. Step number 1, understand your current production of paid search and organic and tally it up. Step 2, pause this SEM, run it for 1 to 3 weeks. You can go up to 6 weeks. It really comes down to the volume of traffic your site gets to start off with and how popular your term is. Track the organic and SEM production during the pause. So if you've paused just brand, so you're tracking non-brand paid search and all organic. If you're tracking if you paused it all, then just track the organic contributions. So look at it both from a volume standpoint and a percentage of contribution standpoint. Do not do this during a peak season or during an anticipated sale or anytime you know that there's going to be a spike in traffic. Reactivate it, go back to normal. Don't do an evaluation though until after you've been reactive or reactivated the same amount of time you ran that test for. You can do many analysis along the way, but don't do a conclusion one until afterwards. Compare pre and post test data and show the difference in the traffic and KPIs, and more than likely not, it's going to show you need both. Got the photo? She got it. So the more detailed or more difficult part, I'm going to skip through steps 1 and 2 because they are identical as the first slide, and I'm running out of time on stage. Number 3, this is, anyone here locked in with Google Search Console? Only 3 of you. Okay, no, only 3 of you. That is incredibly concerning. I highly recommend to integrate onto your site. It is free. Just do it. There's no other way to do it, say that. And this is to actually look at the organic production to see if there's an uptick on the organic words specifically. Usually this works best with brand, so you can actually see those numbers and do it at a more finite analysis. This works if you have an extensive analytics team, a data science team, or someone that really just does not sleep at night, which is probably about a third of you in here. Then you repeat the same processes. I'm going to rush through this because I'm running low on time. Once again, I thought I was going to have a bigger screen. So, it just says Canadian bacon with different numbers there. That's all I got to remember. So the takeaway, this is where I get a little bit more snarky at the end. Yes, The concept of SEM plus SEO is equal to that of 1 + 1 = 3. Very few brands, I'm not even going to bother with that because none of y'all are in here for that one. Recent years, there have been similar brands that have tried to stop this, where they're turning around and saying, I want my brand traffic to be cheap so I don't have to pay for it. I don't want to name names, but it sounds like 1-800-CONTACTS, and it is 1-800-CONTACTS, has filed 16 lawsuits since 2014 against competitors, saying that they should not have to pay for their own brand terms when their competitors are doing it. Please don't be them, ever, because you will have an even snarkier article written up about me. They are currently in court with Warby Parker, and I believe it was the FTC actually filed a lawsuit against that same company for intimidation and collusion. So it's a very easy way, so please don't be that brand saying, if I threaten my competitors, I don't need to run paid search, especially on brand terms. While I do not advocate for turning off paid search, I am a huge advocate for education learning. Give it a go whirl. Honestly, just about everyone in here, not everyone in here, but just about everyone here is capable of doing that. Let's be honest, in here, there's probably a few of you that probably shouldn't try that test at all, but we're just being honest. And once again, I thought I was going to be the last person when I originally wrote this one, so please don't go home yet. There's at least 2 more sessions after this. Thank you for sitting through this. If you love it, hated it, want to just complain, you can email me. Honestly, I'm more reactive on Twitter. It will be snarky coming back to you, though. And go Jets. Thank you. I got 2 minutes for questions if there's any, and you will apparently have a large orange box thrown at you. Any questions, comments, concerns, feedback? Okay, then.
I have one for you, John.
Sure.
Just in regards to if someone did want to test it out for themselves, and you mentioned 1 to 3 weeks, potentially up to 6 weeks if you need more traffic, what would you see as like a minimum volume of sessions to get an accurate, if it was your client, how many sessions would you want to have an accurate read?
We use, and you can find them across the web, we've built our own statistical significance calculator based off current site activity, and we always recommend that. If you are a mid to low volume site, the statistical significance calculator is often not a value. So I always say a minimum of 1,000 sessions over a 2-day period. Minimum of 1,000 over a 2-day period, just to be able to justify it.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for John?
No.
Oh, no, we've got one here from John.
Damn it, not him.
Playing the brand card here. Have you seen similar results in doing the same test with Bing?
Yes, we have. We also noticed, though, and I know you can't say it, we've seen it act differently by vertical. So when we've done this test in healthcare, Bing is, for reasons I will never understand and you probably legally can't tell me, Bing does phenomenal with the healthcare vertical, that and financial services. And we've seen it much more of an impactful scenario when it's in Bing for net loss when brand is not, or when paid search isn't present.